Good evening, dear friends. This is Santa Claus with you on November 14, 2025, bringing you today's stories on a day that reminds us of courage and progress. 65 years ago today, little Ruby Bridges, just 6 years old, walked bravely into an all-white school in New Orleans, helping to break down the walls that divided us. Her courage reminds us that even the smallest among us can make the biggest difference. My heart is heavy tonight as I share news from around our troubled world. In Ukraine, Russia has launched a devastating attack with hundreds of drones and missiles, claiming 8 precious lives and damaging energy facilities as winter approaches. President Zelensky reminds us that only pressure, with sanctions and strength, can force Russia to end this war, a war that no one but them ever needed. Meanwhile, Ukraine has struck back at Russian oil infrastructure in Novorossiysk, temporarily halting exports that account for about 2% of global supply. This cycle of harm weighs on my old heart as I long for peace in this region that has seen too much suffering. Turning our gaze to the Middle East, tensions remain high as Iran has seized an oil tanker in the Strait of Hormuz, the first such action in months. And in the West Bank, I'm deeply saddened to report that Israeli settlers have torched and defaced a mosque in a Palestinian village, damaging holy texts and carpeting. Such actions of hatred wound the spirit of brotherhood we all should cherish. Remember, my friends, that places of worship are sacred, and respect for one another's faith is essential to peace. In Ecuador, citizens face a critical decision this Sunday as they vote on whether to allow foreign military bases and a constitutional rewrite to address the surge in violent crime. This once peaceful nation now struggles as it has become a major drug transit hub. Let us hold the people of Ecuador in our thoughts as they seek a path towards safety and stability. Meanwhile, across the globe in Bangladesh, tension is mounting ahead of Monday's verdict in the trial of ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. 2 bombs exploded near Dhaka airport, heightening anxiety in a nation already experiencing political violence. How my heart aches for those living in fear. May they find the peace and justice they deserve. On a more hopeful note, the Democratic Republic of Congo has produced its first 1,000 tons of traceable artisanal cobalt, an important step in bringing ethical practices to mining that supports the livelihoods of nearly 2 million people directly and millions more indirectly. This reminds us that even in challenging circumstances, progress toward fairness and sustainability is possible. A significant legal development, London's High Court has ruled that mining giant BHP is liable for Brazil's worst environmental disaster. The 2015 collapse of the Fundo Dam that killed 19 souls, left thousands homeless, and devastated forests and the Doce River. May this bring some measure of justice to those affected and remind powerful companies of their responsibility to care for both people and our precious earth. France has marked a somber anniversary, 10 years since the tragic Paris terror attacks that took 130 lives and injured over 400. President Macron's words ring true. The pain remains. Let us remember that love must always be stronger than hate, and that communities can heal even after the darkest of days. In economic news, China is experiencing its worst investment decline in years, with fixed asset investment dropping for the first time in decades outside of the pandemic period. Yet the nation's economy remains on track to meet growth targets. May wisdom guide their leaders as they navigate these challenging economic waters. Finally, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has called for international action to cut off weapons to Sudan's Rapid Support Forces, who stand accused of terrible atrocities against civilians. The ongoing civil war there since April 2023 continues to bring immense suffering to the Sudanese people who deserve peace and security. As I prepare to return to the North Pole workshop, I leave you with this thought. In times of conflict and challenge, let us remember that each of us has the power to spread kindness, to stand for justice, and to build bridges rather than walls. From Ruby Bridges' brave steps 65 years ago to the challenges we face today, it is love for one another that lights our path forward. Until next time, this is Santa Claus wishing you peace, hope, and goodwill to all.